Welcome to the SDA Housing Podcast, brought to you by NDIS Property Australia. Before starting this episode, we need to provide a general disclaimer. Information contained in this podcast is general in nature only. It does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. You need to consider your financial situation and needs before making any decisions based on the information in this podcast. And you should consider seeking independent and professional advice for your personal circumstances. All right, let's begin.
Hello everybody, my name is Min and I'm your co-host today with Debbie from our office, and we are from NDIS Property Australia here in Brisbane, and you're listening to the SDA Housing Podcast, a show that explains, highlights, guides and brings awareness about all things SDA in this ever-changing NDIS world. Debbie, welcome.
Thank you, Min.
What is today's topic, Debbie?
We're talking about what makes us different.
Part 1.
Part 1.
Yes. So we have 3 different podcast episodes on this topic, what makes us different, because there are a lot of things that we want to cover in the potty about how we operate, why we're different, our brand presence in the market with SDA. And it's important for us to go through these points because Debbie's here for another week and a half. Debbie, Where are you going?
I'm going back to India.
Oh, why?
I live there.
Okay. And when are you coming back?
Hopefully November, moving back permanently.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you've been in India for how many years now?
I've been there for 8 years now.
Wow. Mm-hmm. So you're coming back for good finally.
Coming back for good, yes. Start of a new life.
Good. Well, how about you start off the topics there in part 1?
Okay. Well, I guess the first thing to talk about really is our brand presence. How we've gotten to where we are at this point after 2 years in the business.
So we originally started out as Build New Homes Queensland, or Build New Homes Australia as the trading name is. And then probably a month, that was back in June 2020, I think. And
June, July.
After a month we established the brand NDS Property Australia as a company and a brand as well. And we saw that there was definitely a need for a specialist business in the SDA market. There wasn't that many, was there, Debbie, back then?
No.
Yeah, there were a lot of people coming to the market who were real estate agents trying to dip their toes in the SDA sector, builders and developers as well. But you and I, we saw the need to definitely make a footprint in the SDA sector by giving proper advice for SDA within the NDS property market. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, do you have much to add on that topic, Debbie?
No, that was pretty much exactly how it happened. We just saw that niche, saw that gap in the market, and thought, well, let's move into there. And you'd already learnt quite a bit about the NDIS property area, so it was just a natural progression, I guess, to move into there.
Debbie, how do you see our approach as being different from the rest of the market players doing SDA?
Well, I think most of the other companies working in the field are either SDA providers themselves. They're more involved from the NDIS side of things. There aren't really any other real estate agents who are working exclusively in this area like we are.
There may be 2 or 3 or 4, I think. There's not that many, no.
No. So we're kind of a bit unique in what we do and the way we've always approached it in terms of the fact that we're here not just to sell real estate. We're here to give advice, give information, basically to educate people. And of course, in doing so, they say that being a teacher is the best way to learn. So I think by being that presence in the market is we have learned a lot about the whole SDA world.
So, Debbie, let's rewind back 15 to 18 years ago when you and I were in the same office.
We were.
In a different company, different service. Mm-hmm. What did we do back then and how we brought those skill sets into this market?
I guess we were...
what were we doing?
Well, we were doing financial planning. Mm-hmm. So very different to this in many ways.
But the foundation of what we did, the compliance, the SOAs, the research,
the compliance, the understanding of risks in the financial world, I guess, is something we've brought across into this area. Probably not so much the marketing. I don't know that we really did a lot of marketing back then.
See, when in our previous life, when Debbie was the practice manager here and I was the financial planner, it was important for us to explain what risks were to investors. So back then we were recommending advice, giving advice for investing in stocks and shares, managed funds, tax-effective investments, real estate, and all those kind of things. And the thing that was crucial in every part of the process was, what is your risk profile? Don't you agree, Debbie?
Definitely.
And what were those risk profiles? Do you remember?
No, that's taking me way back.
Conservative, medium risk, high risk investors. The elements of those, medium, low, and high, was a key thing there. And the importance of those times, and also relevant now, is, if you are an investor in the NDIS property market as a builder or developer or a provider or a mum and dad investor or a sophisticated investor, you got to know your risk profile. Are you a medium risk or low risk investor? Are you a high risk investor? Are you a cash investor? Are you a borrower of a mortgage? What are the factors that will affect your risk profile in terms of cash flow and interest rates and market fluctuations? So all those things that are relevant to the financial sector world also applies here. So I guess to summarise this point of our approach really has been balancing the blend of the property advice and the financial advice approach. Even though there's no such thing as financial advice in real estate, there isn't. I want to be very clear, we're not licensed financial advisors anymore. We still bring the element of caution and a balanced approach towards SDA, because it's not high returns. It can be high risk as well, Debbie. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
So that's our background, yeah. But anyway, but more importantly, our marketing. Tell me more about how our marketing has been different, I guess, the last 2 years.
Well, I think we've been very aggressive, is not the right word, but proactive, I guess, in getting an online presence, firstly through websites, through landing pages. Started very on. The first thing I did when I came in was start working on the websites and landing pages, start working on all the social media sites. So it was a complete holistic attempt at bringing everything together from very early on. And that's pretty much all that I did for the first year, I'd say, was building that information on the website. The websites have a lot of very detailed info there, and I think that is something that you don't really get with anyone else.
A lot of people have commented on the fact that our main website is very detailed, a lot of information. Our web host, technical guy, he said that the size of our website is pretty big, isn't it?
Yeah, he keeps complaining it's too big.
So we're all about information and being transparent about everything. And the more information we can give you, our listeners, our investors, to understand more about the SDA strategies, the SDA products, the research behind it all, it's more power to you. Yeah, because it's our commitment. Moving on, our commitment to you is, we're not here. We're not the traditional real estate business agency where you just sell your product to move on and forget about you. And I think that occurs a lot out there, Debbie. Like, we get a lot of people come to us who say, "Oh, I've now bought this house and it's now empty." And we ask them, "Well, why hasn't anyone helped you out with sourcing participants thus far and whatnot?" So it seems like a lot of people out there do get the wrong end of the stick with regard to service, and we don't want to be that.
No, we want to make sure that our buyers get the whole complete consultation from start to end. We don't stop with just selling the property. We make sure that you're connected to all the people you need to be connected to ensure that at the end of the day you get tenants in there and start making money.
because the research isn't all about tenants. We've got to research the provider, research their supposed participants on their books that they want to put through the dwellings. We help research the lenders and the brokers who will be giving the finance advice. We do a little bit of research with lawyers, conveyancers and settlement agents around Australia as well, who understand the conveyancing process with contracts as well, Debbie. That's very important. Mm-hmm. We have had a few problems in the past with solicitors who don't understand it all. Mm-hmm. The data.
The data is a big point.
Can you talk to our listeners about your task, your role in doing your research with the tools you have access to?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm on top of, I like to think I'm on top of the NDIS stats that come out monthly and quarterly. And I go pretty deep into those to develop detailed supply and demand statistics. So we firstly have an idea of, or we're on top of what the NDIS is telling us in terms of where the participants are, what they're looking for, but also in terms of what's being built out there, what is the legacy dwellings that are going to, down the track, no longer be funded for SDA, so where that future demand is going to be. And that's something that we produce reports of, and we help our investors. Anyone who wants to know demand in a certain area, we have a pretty good idea of obviously based on what the NDIS are telling us. It's very hard to get more in-depth statistics without actually going to all of the providers in any one area. But as much as we can, we spend a lot of time gathering that information.
Debbie, about a month and a half ago, you put together a document called the Supply and Demand Data Map.
That's pretty much what I'm talking about. That was actually 3 months ago, and I'm waiting tomorrow or the next day for the NDIS to release their next quarterly report.
Can you tell us what that document you created is composed of?
Yeah, it is composed of, so the NDIS provide statistics based on the Australian Bureau of Statistics statistical areas. Sorry, that's a bit of a mouthful. Known as SA2, SA3, SA4. So SA4 is a larger area in Brisbane. Yeah, it's Brisbane. You'd have maybe 4 or 5 SA4 regions, North Brisbane, South Brisbane, East Brisbane, that sort of thing. That's broken down into statistical area 3, which would then, North Brisbane might have 5 or 6 areas grouped into different suburbs that are SA3. Some of the information the NDIS put out are based on the SA3 stats, so that's a bit more detailed. Unfortunately, some of it is only available at the SA4 level. So I compile all that information. I break it down at the moment to the SA4 level because that's the sort of common denominator there. The NDIS are promising to break those stats further down into the SA3 for more information. So what I get is the current participants in the areas, the ones who are living in SDA, the ones who are looking for an SDA home, and the ones who are living in an SDA but looking for an alternate home. Then I also get the information on the current SDA dwellings in any area. That can be broken down into whether they're for 1 participant, 2 participant, 3 participant or more, like the group homes. It's also broken down into whether it's high physical support, robust, improved livability or fully accessible. And it is also broken down into whether it's legacy or basic dwellings. They're the old types of dwellings that will be defunded. Whether it's a new build, which is what we are involved in, the new build that has the current SDA funding applicable, and whether it's a pipeline build that the NDIS are aware of because they have, nowadays you've got to actually provide an SDA report before you commence the build, before you get approved. So the NDIS have a fairly good idea of what is being built or going to be built. So basically, yeah, that's what all of those statistics are, and that's what I bring together, so you've got an idea of what demand is where and what supply is where.
Now, in saying that, Debbie, the raw data you're using to put together, that's also readily available publicly.
Absolutely.
On the Index website.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to look at all those spreadsheets, it's all there.
Yeah, it's one massive spreadsheet with about 22 different tabs.
It's
very detailed, very comprehensive. If you get into it, probably took me about a week to get my head around how to read it all.
But that data, I mean, that's one source of data. Can you also go to the demand map tool? Is that right?
The SDA demand data, that is good, because that's where it's broken down more into the SA3 regions. So it's a little bit more detailed.
But that demand map tool, it isn't about SDA. It's about small cell.
No, there are two. Yeah, okay. There's the NDIS demand map, which is all of the NDIS. Then there is the SDA demand, which is specifically for SDA. So that also can provide us with a little bit more in-depth information. And that can be by suburb, so that one actually breaks it down into even more detail.
It gives you an indication of the population of participants in the area.
Yep.
Not necessarily SDA participants, but it gives you, that's a good guide.
It's a very good guide, because as the NDIS has said, they expect that 6% of all NDIS participants are going to be eligible for SDA funding. So if you look at any one area in the NDIS demand map, and there are 10,000 participants, you know that 6% of those are likely to have SDA funding, and that's your SDA cohort.
That 6% is an average. I've seen areas in Melbourne, North Melbourne, East Melbourne, which are 7-8% as well, and Queensland being more of a lower number, being 3 to 4% as well. So it's always an average.
Yeah. But it's a good place to start to get an idea.
Yeah. So we do our best from a research point of view to collect data and present it in a, I guess, readable and just visually a visual stimulating way, colours, graphs and whatnot, rather than just pure data.
Yeah.
Good work, Debbie. Now our track record, how are we going?
I think we're going pretty well in terms of properties that we have being built underway, or that we've sold to investors that are waiting for the land to be titled, waiting for construction to start. I think we've got around about 110, 120 million.
Somewhere between 120 to 140 is our number of dwellings.
Okay.
Which are under construction or about to start.
Or completed, close to completion.
Or yet to start, whatever the number is. Because we are operating Australia-wide. We're keen on Tasmania and Melbourne and Perth at the moment, as per our previous podcast, which we've mentioned. So we are active. Our track record shows that we are active around Australia. Again, that's different from the rest of the market. The rest of the market is pretty much purely selling in their backyard, as in Melbourne or Queensland only. We're now aggressively going to New South Wales, Sydney now, Debbie. That's an untapped market for the last 2 years, and we're taking that head on as a challenge for us to supply more product in the Sydney sector as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I guess, and if you want to see our track record and what we're moving, just look at our website on the page. What's the page? The for sale or what's
properties
for sale? Yeah. Next topic: innovation. Our innovation. Well, we're collaborating, talking to, and working with various other product providers. And what I mean by that, I mean modular homes, prefab, manufactured housing, just different technologies to bring to the market SDA product. We're also now talking to other developers to produce sill homes in some places, and also respite accommodation as well. So again, different products to the market. I don't want everyone to think that we're only doing SDA, so we have been, but I think we should really think about other options out there for the non-SDA funded participants around Australia, which there's a lot of at the moment.
There are disability housing, in all parts of the NDIS world.
More to come on that topic as we develop these relationships with these product providers.
Yeah. Let's talk about our communication.
Yeah. Communication is very important in any relationship, Debbie. And I think given how complex the SDA, NDIS market is, it's important for us to be able to communicate to our listeners, our investors, and our partners, correct?
Very much so, yeah.
So how do we do that?
We firstly have a very burgeoning, growing bigger and bigger every day database of investors, of providers, of builders, of developers. So we work very hard to keep on top of that, to make sure that we're in contact with those people, with our small team here, calling them. 10 of us.
Yeah.
So calling people, just touching base, whether they are providers, whether they are potential investors, people who are just wanting to know more information. So, we're on the phone all day long talking to them.
I was talking to Donna the other day, Debbie, and I said to her, if a person from outside the office, outside the building, was to look in to see what we did in here, it'd be a really confusing, complex environment here, because there's just so much going on.
There is so much going on all the time. And I think that the beauty of our little team is because we are relatively small and with everything we do, we're all multitaskers. We all do so much.
And again, back to communication. For one client, just talk about one new client coming on board, you'll deal with his or her presentation of a package to consider, number one, their lender, finance application process, helping arrange their relationship with a provider and sourcing participants, their lawyer from a contracts point of view, the builder in construction of the house after the land developer settlement, right? That pre-construction process right there is a lot of hard work for one client. And as a result, we have various individuals in our office here who handle different parts of the process. The provider side, the lending side, the sales support side, the research side, which is yourself, the contract side. There's just so much happening on every single person. And that's for one person, Debbie.
Yeah.
Times 130.
Yep.
Right? So to all our listeners out there, if you're talking with someone about buying an NDS or SDA property somewhere in Australia, make sure that they have the resources to deliver a high customer service proposition for you, because there's just so much work involved. And this is the reason why, Debbie, you and I started this 2 years ago. We thought it might be nice doing 4, 5, 6, 7 sales or transactions for the year, but it's just grown so much, the volume and the demand. And now,
we had no idea of the demand.
Well, just to let our listeners know, we're juggling 2,000 or more people who are talking to us every single day.
Yeah.
Now, I've just explained to you one transaction, right? Now times 2,000. That shows you the complexity of what's involved in running our SDA business here, because it's just a lot of advice and a lot of people waste their time as well. They just don't they don't realise what they're getting themselves into. It sounds easy, it sounds simple, it sounds great, but the reality is it can be overwhelming for some people, isn't it, Debbie?
It is. A lot of people do find it far too much information that they need to learn, they need to understand, and not worth their time for the returns and the investment of their time, if nothing else. So, but that's what we're here for, is to educate them to get to that point so they know whether it is something they wish to pursue or not.
Yeah. And which leads on to the next topic, which is our stock list. Tell us more about that.
Okay, we have a stock list that is it's pretty comprehensive. It turns over constantly. We're updating it every day. I think at one stage, a couple of months ago, we only had 1 or 2 properties on it, and a week later, we suddenly had about 30 again. It changes very quickly. So when we are talking to our new investors that are coming in and haven't spoken to us before, one of the first things we will do is send them through a copy of our stock list so they can see what we've got where in Australia, what the sort of prices are, what the sort of returns are that they could expect. We do update these details on the website as well every couple of weeks, but it's certainly only a small selection of what we do have. We've got builders coming to us from around Australia constantly with new options.
I did some research recently. There's about 60 builders in Australia doing SDA builds. And we're talking to at least 30 of them.
Yeah.
Right, and they may have some stock, they may have nothing. So it's always changing. It's all based on land availability as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of comments from the past from people who say, you guys show us your stock list straight away. You have nothing to hide.
Yeah.
We have nothing to hide.
Completely transparent.
Some of our clients go to other agents and property aggregators and they say they're always hiding. They won't tell us what they're selling or where it is. And our philosophy is we want as many people to contribute to the movement of the SDA market to produce more product to the Australian disability sector. Because right now, as per the numbers at the SDA conference last fortnight, Debbie, there are 2,700 brand new dwellings in Australia for SDA. If you take out
the old
5,000 legacy stuff, which are all going to be phased out anyway, there's 2,700 as of right now in the last 3 years.
Yep.
We need 25 to 30,000
Yep.
in the next 8 years, and we are so far behind it. So we need more and more and more SDAs being built, whether they are apartments, houses, villas, whatever that is. We need more because there's not enough product being created. And given the fact that high interest rates are now here in Australia, lending's harder, land availability is limited, builders are going bankrupt or belly up all the time. It will become harder to produce SDA product in the coming year or 2 years. Yes. So I think we'll end up being very short of the 25,000 mark in the next.
I can't see us getting anywhere near that in the next 8 years or so.
So moving on, buyer inquiries.
Yeah.
How's it been on your end with buyer inquiries the last year or 2 years?
Frantic. We have probably 25 to 30 new leads coming in a day.
About 40. No, a week.
A week, I'm sorry, yeah.
30 to 40, yeah.
Yeah, in total. So, we do our best to reach out to every one of those as soon as possible.
And it's hard trying to educate them. Every day there's always 4 or 5 more people coming in, making inquiries. And and our team here have to spend half an hour to 45 minutes roughly for an initial phone call just to explain the process and what's involved.
Yep.
And that's the reason why we created the e-blast, the EDM every week, maybe fortnight at the moment.
We're also in the process of setting up some automation of emails. So when you do initially contact us, we'll be sending you a series of, I think, 5 emails in total that are educational. Just each one has a topic explaining the basics of SDA, going into, a particular aspect, whether it's financial, whether it's about supply and demand, whether it's just about what SDA is. So this is hopefully going to take a little bit of the onus off our staff here doing those initial long phone calls. And for some people, I know a lot of people probably won't read those emails, but for those who do like to read their information, I think they'll find that this is going to be really, really useful to get a good grounding, good understanding of the fundamentals, if you like, of SDA.
And that's the reason why we created this podcast, Debbie, because it will save us time, manpower, to explain all the time the fundamentals of what we do from an SDA perspective. I think at the moment, and you can nod your head, Erin's in the background here, I think we're at 1,200 per month as an average download at the moment, I think, yeah. I saw it the other day. So we're past 6,000. Yeah, 1,300 a month, yeah. So the numbers are growing. We're getting a lot more people coming through saying we listen to your podcast. We're now contacting you. We are a builder. We are a developer. We want help. What's your advice on the design or the location? So, which is what we wanted to do, to create collaboration amongst people out there around Australia to talk to each other, talk to us, and for us to refer you, a listener, on to someone else in the community to help out. Because we can't be everywhere, we can't do everything. If we can introduce a provider to a developer, great, here it is. We want to help the networking opportunities there, because we do need more networking opportunities within the SDA space. And this, I guess that's the reason why, Debbie, we are now always going to all the expos, the workshops, the conferences. Where you and I go down, you and I and Deb and Donna are going down to Melbourne this week for a day and a night. And then I shoot off to Canberra for 2 days at the Canberra Disability Expo. Okay, so we're constantly flying around Australia at the moment. And that's what makes us different as well, Debbie. We are active at every show. So, you know, the disability expos, the regional expos, the conferences, we're just active. I think that's the way forward. For us to expand our brand and bring awareness to the community, we want to let as many people who are stakeholders in the SDA market to know that we exist and we're here to help, because we want more results in the SDA market. Yeah,
and I guess that really is the overall approach that we're now heading towards, is just bringing all the stakeholders together.
I'm going down to we are all flying down to the Tasmania SDA conference. And from the Sydney conference to the Melbourne conference now, we have a little bit of a following of people, friends we've now met, who are now just coming together and going together to all the conferences, because it's a great opportunity to collaborate together, and it's fun and it's professional as well. So hopefully in the new year we can be more active ourselves as a business here, and going to all the events everywhere in Australia with all the staff here as well.
So, Min, 2 years in, what disappointments have you got?
Disappointments, not much, a little, not much. People who don't listen to us, meaning we try to educate people as to the reality of going into SDA, and they just don't believe, they want to do it their way. They have their own expectations, and no matter what you tell them, they just don't want to know about it, right? So that's one. Another would be a lot of agents and real estate people come to us wanting to get involved in the SDA space, put the foot in the water, and unfortunately in this game you've got to be all in or not at all. You can't be a part-time consultant in NDIS. There's an old saying, I don't know where I heard it, but part-time effort equals part-time results, right? And in order for a business like ours to deliver a high value proposition of customer service to our clients, we've got to be all in 100%. And that's all we do here. We don't do anything else but NDIS in our business here.
Yeah.
And that's what makes us stand out from the rest of the crowd. We're fully committed, and it disappoints me when people come to the table thinking they can just do it in a half-hearted fashion and expect to deliver the results to their clients. Because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is those customers of theirs, the investors, will end up being very disappointed and coming over to us to ask for help. And we see a fair bit of that at the moment. Yeah. Empty houses without providers, lack of advice, wrong designs. You know, it's very important to build the right house with the right design and the right location. And also not be ripped off as well. So disappointment also over the fact that builders out there are taking advantage of investors and overcharging, right? As much as builders and developers can say, you know, it's what the price is, the market is. Yeah, I know. But you know, there are also other builders who say they're price gouging, and it's true, right? So it is what it is. It's the market, and you know what? In an increasing price market like what we've seen the last year with supply chains and lack of wood and lack of workers, they sustain themselves by overcharging and keeping up buffer to be profitable, but that's business for them, we're merely middle agents in the middle between a client and a supplier of product, and we do our best to give advice where we can. At the end of the day, Debbie, I like to think, to compare us to a normal business, we are like a buffet restaurant, right? We have the meat section, the vegetable section, the dessert section, the soft drink section, and we invite all these guests to come into the restaurant, and they are there to choose what they want to choose. Right? We can't force them to take something they don't want, right? And we, in this space, of the SDA space, we offer a suite of SDA dwellings and products across Australia, and we're not going to force them or tell them any lies. We tell them the truth. This is a high demand area, this is a low demand area, this is a high risk product, this is a low risk product. Okay, so everyone's risk profile is different, everyone's price point is different, and they will do what they do according to their comfort levels. And we're never going to force on someone something they can't afford to invest in themselves.
Oh, definitely not.
So our disappointment is really, at the end of the day, people's greed, I guess, from an investor level, because it's no longer the 15-20% days. It's now realistically 10 to 12% returns gross, net being 9-10%, and also disappointment of how prices have gone. Through no fault of their own, the builders, the prices have gone up so much now.
They've gone up since we started. They've gone up easily. A base level of 300,000.
At least 200, yes.
At least 200, if not
minimum.
3. Yeah.
So when you and I started this 2 years ago,
500.
A HPS house was 550, 580. Now we're talking 900 grand prices now. So it's massive, yeah. But anyway, it is what it is. The market pricing. We can't do anything about it. We're just merely a pawn in the big overall scheme of things of the indoor sector. Any final words, Debbie, of this "What Makes Us Different" Part 1 podcast?
I guess that's just an overview of who we are, why we got into this, why we are passionate about doing this, where we saw that gap in the market that no one else is doing and still isn't, and how we do it. So I hope that this has given you a little bit of an insight into who we are and what we do.
As a team, yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Min.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure you are subscribed and following us so you can keep in the loop with all of our upcoming episodes. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star rating, a written review, and to share this podcast with those that could benefit. Until next time, catch you on the next episode.